Hey everyone, welcome to Barter Hordes. My name is Robert and today is day 14, so the end of 2 weeks of March Malt Madness. I'm trying something a little bit different with lighting today, so please comment down below if you think it's better or worse than it's been for the first 2 weeks. I noticed the last couple of videos the light from my ring light was so bright it was kind of just bleaching out the labels on the bottles even. And so I'm trying something a little bit different, but who knows if it's going to work or not. Tonight we have one of my favorite kinds of matchups. We have an Island whiskey, which I love Island whiskeys, and we have a Campbelltown whiskey. I love Campbelltown whiskeys. So from the islands we have Arran 10. The Isle of Arran is where the Longrow distillery is, and I believe it's in the northern part of the island. And just recently, I think within the last year, they've opened a second distillery in the southern part of the island to handle their peated whiskeys, and that's going to be called the Lag Distillery, L-A-G-G. Lag has not appeared yet in the United States as far as I know, but I'm really looking forward to trying it. Longrow, as I mentioned in a couple of episodes ago, is a product of the Springbank Distillery, and it is a peated whiskey. This is the Longrow Peated. There's no age statement on this one, so we're not really sure exactly how long it's been in the casks. Okay, so for the Arran, it's $60. Neither of these is available in North Carolina, unfortunately. It's doing everything exactly like you'd want it to do. It's 46% ABV, it's all natural color, there's no chill filtering, just what you would want. And this is an exclusive bourbon, ex-bourbon barrel maturation. So 10 years in ex-bourbon barrels, at least 10 years. The Longrow is exactly the same way in terms of the important statistics. 46% ABV, no chill filtering, no added color. It is $90 from Springbank. In Chicago where I got it because it's not available here. Of the 3 Springbank bottlings that I own, this is the least expensive. The other 2 are 100 or slightly bit more than 100, but this one seems to be one that's a little bit easier to come by, and Longrow has some other expressions too, which I have not tried yet. It is a Campbelltown whiskey. It is matured in a combination of ex-bourbon and ex-sherry casks, and as I mentioned, it's all natural color, no chill filtration. So 2 whiskeys doing everything right. I would love to pair this someday side by side with the Springbank 10. Since it's from the same distillery, they both have some peat, although I think this is more heavily peated than the Springbank is, and see which one I actually like. The first time I ever tried Longrow, I had not really even heard of it before, was at a dinner in Chicago where I got a flight at a restaurant of peated non-Islay scotches, and Longrow was one of those, and in that flight it was the one that I enjoyed the most, and so I immediately tried to find a bottle of it and was lucky to find one in Chicago. I think I'm going to do something a little bit different tonight and see if it makes a difference also. Instead of testing the aromas of each one back to back, going back and forth, I'm going to test the aromas of one and then taste it, sit with it for a few minutes, and then go to the other one, and then I can go back and forth. I feel a little bit like I'm rushing through these comparisons, and I don't want to do that because I've noticed that if I go take sips of it later in the evening after it's sat for a while and after I've had a few sips, I get a slightly different experience. So I don't want to snap judgment any of these. So let's start with the Arran 10. And as you can tell, both of these bottles are still relatively full. I've only probably had one session with each of these bottles in the past, and it's been several months. Okay, that ex-bourbon maturation, no surprise. First thing you get is some sweetness, vanilla, maybe some citrus. There's no peat in this one, so you don't get any of that smoke on the side. Nice, balanced. Everything's really sweet. Okay, let's try it. That higher ABV, the good quality casks really makes a difference. It's very good. You get the citrus, you get the vanilla, maybe a bit of honey, I can't tell for sure. It doesn't have a super long finish. Well, take it back, it's hanging around there, this sip. The first sip seemed to fade away quite a bit at the end, but this one's hanging around a little bit, so maybe it's one of those things where you need more than one sip to really know. Okay, that's very nice. Let's go to the Longrow. This one might be a little bit unusual because it does have not only the peat influence, which is it's named for, but also the combination of bourbon and sherry maturation. First whiff, all you get is peat. There's some fruit underneath the peat, but it's definitely overpowered by the peat, which is not a bad thing for me. I like the peat. If you don't like the peat, this is not going to be one that you're going to enjoy. But as somebody who's grown to really enjoy the peat, this is one I really liked the first time I had it. I think I had this in a flight with a Highland Park, which I had already tasted, and I don't really think of Highland Park as heavily peated, and so to put it in a peated non-Islay flight was a little bit suspect. And the other one in the flight was Leipzig 10 year, which I have never owned a bottle of. And then I added a Springbank 15 to that flight because I'd never had any Springbank. And I think of the four, the Longrow was the one that I enjoyed the most. But by the time I got to the Springbank, I might have had a little bit more than, you know, was great for good tasting notes. It's not nearly as strong. The peat is not nearly as strong on the taste as it is in the aromas. It's much more balanced when you taste it, and of course that's what really counts. But I'm getting some of the sweetness from the bourbon maturation, some of the fruitiness from the sherry maturation, maybe even a little bit of cinnamon spice or some kind of a spice on the outsides of my tongue. But it finishes, it's sweet, smoky, smoke. When you go back to it though, to test the aromas after you've tasted it, you get away from the peat a little bit. The peat kind of gives you room to get in there for the fruit flavors. That's very nice. You cannot go wrong with either of these bottles, assuming they fit your flavor profile. Not cheap, especially the Longrow, because Springbank is just in such high demand right now. Springbank, the reason it's in such high demand is they just can't produce as much as people want it. Everybody loves what they're doing with their whiskeys. And so even though I eliminated the Hazelburn recently, the Springbank 10 advanced, and now I'm going to advance the Longrow as well. But if you put Arran up against several of the other whiskeys that I put through into the second round, it would beat them. So this was just bad luck that they meet in round one. But the Arran is so nice, and I can't wait till the Lag distillery starts appearing here in the United States and I can try their peated whiskeys. I listened to a podcast about some people who visited the distillery and talked to one of the I guess the brand ambassador, and they tasted a bunch of the different styles, and they just thought it was wonderful. So I'm looking forward to that. Might be 10 years before it shows up in North Carolina, but who knows. But I am going to advance the Longrow. We're going to say goodbye to the Arran, but I think Arran's going to probably be in my cabinet pretty consistently. It's very, very good. Okay, so that's it for day 14. For day 15, the next to last, the penultimate matchup in round one is going to be between Deanston 12-year-old, which so many people have told me that is an absolute must-have whiskey. I've only had one little taste of it and don't really know it that well. And it's going to be matched up against a Bruichladdich, an Islay whiskey, but this is an unpeated Islay whiskey. This is the Classic Laddie. It's the one, if you know whiskey at all, it's the one that comes in that opaque turquoise gorgeous bottle. The only problem with that bottle is that you never can tell how much is still left in there. So that's going to be an interesting matchup too, between a very well regarded Deanston 12 and an almost legendary Bruichladdich The Classic Laddie. Okay, if you've had these or anything I've mentioned, please leave me a comment. Let me know if the lighting is better or worse, and I'll try to make adjustments. I don't know anything about video production, and so I've gone from using a ring light, which was, I thought, a little too harsh and a little bit too glary, to two soft boxes, and I'm not sure if I've got them pointed the right direction or anything. So this is all just trial and error. All right, everybody, I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye, everybody.